The fluorescent lights in the hospital corridor buzzed faintly, their cold glow casting long, sterile shadows. The rhythmic beeping of machines filled the air, each sound a reminder of life hanging by a thread. Ray sat in an uncomfortable plastic chair, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. The hospital's walls felt like they were closing in on her, suffocating her with an unbearable weight. She couldn't take her eyes off the small window of the ICU room, where her brother, Oliver, lay motionless. His face was pale, lips slightly parted as he breathed with the help of a nasal cannula. He had always been full of life, the kind of kid who couldn't sit still, who had endless dreams and boundless energy. Now he was trapped in a fragile body, fighting against an enemy they couldn't see. A deep breath. Another. "Stay strong, Ray. Miss Carter." A soft voice broke through her thoughts. She turned her head and met the kind but weary eyes of a nurse. "Yes. The doctor wants to speak with you about your brother's condition." Her stomach twisted into knots. Standing up, she smoothed down her blouse, as if fixing her appearance could somehow fix the chaos inside her. Lawyers don't panic. Lawyers keep their emotions in check. That was what she had been training for. But at this moment she wasn't a law student. She was just a sister, helpless and afraid. Dr. Whitmore, a tall man with a streak of gray in his hair, greeted her with a solemn nod. "Ray, I'll be direct with you. Oliver's condition is serious. The infection has spread faster than we anticipated. We're doing everything we can, but his body isn't responding well to the treatment." She gripped the back of a chair to steady herself. "So what does that mean? Are you saying?" "I'm saying we need to prepare for the possibility that he might need long-term care. And even with that, there are no guarantees." Her vision blurred. She had spent her whole life believing that if she worked hard enough, she could control the outcome. Study hard, get the best grades, earn a prestigious career, that was the plan. But here, in this hospital, her intelligence, her discipline, her ambition meant nothing. "Is there anything else we can do?" she whispered. Dr. Whitmore hesitated. "We could try an experimental treatment, but it's not covered by insurance. It's costly, and the results are uncertain." Ray swallowed hard. Money. It always came down to money. Her future flashed before her eyes. She was set to intern at one of the top law firms in Manhattan, a stepping stone to the kind of career that could secure her financial freedom. If she took the job, she could afford the treatment. But she also knew what law firms were like. Endless hours. Ruthless competition. No time for anything else. Would she really be able to juggle that and be there for Oliver? And then there was the other side of her, the part she never admitted to anyone. The part that had spent sleepless nights watching medical documentaries, reading books on rare diseases, secretly wishing she had chosen a different path. She had always dismissed it as a hobby, a fascination she didn't have time to entertain. But here, in this hospital, surrounded by doctors and nurses fighting to save lives, she felt something stirring inside her. For the first time in her life, she was at a crossroads, and she had no idea which way to go. The air outside the hospital was thick with the scent of rain and gasoline. Ray walked aimlessly down the busy streets of Manhattan, her mind a tangled mess of thoughts. Law or medicine? It wasn't a question she had ever seriously considered before. She had already chosen her path, or at least she thought she had. Her phone buzzed in her pocket, pulling her back to reality. She glanced at the screen, her best friend Emily. Ray hesitated. She hadn't told anyone about Oliver's worsening condition. Not because she didn't trust Emily, but because saying it out loud would make it feel too real. She answered, "Hey, Ray, where have you been? I texted you like 5 times. Emily's voice was light, teasing, completely unaware of the storm brewing inside Ray. "You coming to the firm's networking event tonight? It's at this super fancy rooftop bar." Ray rubbed her temple. I don't know." A pause. "Wait, are you okay?" Ray hesitated. "No, I'm not okay. My brother is in the ICU, and I don't know what I'm doing with my life." But instead she just said, "Yeah, just tired." Emily sighed. "Come out, Ray. You need a break. Plus, these events are important. The partners will be there, and they remember faces. If you want that internship, you need to show up." The internship. The future. The life she had worked so hard for. But then she thought about Oliver. about the quiet way he had smiled at her from his hospital bed that morning, despite the pain he was in, about how the doctors had looked at her with silent curiosity, surprised by how much medical knowledge she had picked up just from reading and watching. Two paths, two different lives. Ray swallowed hard. I'll think about it. Back at the hospital, Ray sat beside Oliver's bed, watching his chest rise and fall. He looked so small beneath the blankets, so different from the energetic boy who used to chase her around their tiny apartment, laughing and shouting about superheroes. Ray. His voice was weak, barely more than a whisper. She leaned forward. Yeah. You okay? She let out a soft, bitter laugh. That's supposed to be my question. His lips curved into a small smile. You look worried. Ray exhaled slowly. Just a lot on my mind. Oliver studied her with that quiet intensity he always had when he knew she wasn't telling the whole truth. You're thinking about switching, aren't you? Her stomach twisted. Switching? From law to medicine. She blinked. How did you? I know you, Ray. His voice was raspy, but his eyes were sharp. You love this stuff. You always have. You just never let yourself admit it. Ray stared at him. Had it really been that obvious? Had she been lying to herself all this time? But law is practical, she said weakly. It pays well. It's stable. Oliver smirked. Yeah, but do you love it? She opened her mouth, then closed it. Oliver's eyelids drooped. I think you already know what you want to do. You're just scared to admit it. Ray sat there long after he drifted off to sleep, her heart pounding in her chest, because for the first time she thought maybe he was right. Ray sat on the hospital rooftop, staring at the glowing skyline of New York City. The air was crisp, carrying the faint hum of sirens and distant honking cars. She had always loved this city. The way it never stopped moving never gave you time to second-guess yourself. But tonight, for the first time, she felt paralyzed. Her future stood at a crossroads. Law or medicine? Security or passion? She pulled her knees to her chest, her mind replaying Oliver's words. I think you already know what you want to do. You're just scared to admit it. Maybe he was right. But admitting it meant throwing away years of effort. It meant uncertainty starting over, and what if she failed? Her phone buzzed. A text from Emily. Where are you? The senior partners are asking about you. She squeezed her eyes shut. This is my shot. If I don't go, I'm risking everything. And yet, her fingers hesitated over the screen. Before she could reply, another message popped up. From one of the doctors at the hospital. Dr. Whitmore mentioned your interest in medicine. If you'd like, we could arrange for you to shadow the pediatric unit tomorrow. No pressure. Just thought you might find it interesting. Ray's heart pounded. This was it. 2 invitations. 2 futures. And she had to choose. The next morning, Ray walked into the hospital wearing borrowed scrubs. They were a little loose on her. But as soon as she stepped into the pediatric ward, she forgot about everything else. A little girl with a shaved head and a stuffed bear clutched in her arms waved at her from across the room. Ray hesitated, then walked over. Hi there, Ray said softly. The girl grinned. Are you a doctor? Ray faltered. No, she stopped. She didn't know what to say. Before she could answer, a nurse appeared. Her name's Lily. She's been here for months. She likes to meet new people. Lily beamed. Wanna see my bear? Ray knelt beside her bed, suddenly feeling lighter than she had in weeks. I'd love to. For the next few hours she followed the nurses, listening, observing, helping in small ways. And for the first time in a long time she wasn't thinking about money or prestige. She was just present. By the end of the day she felt something shift inside her. She had been searching for a sign. Maybe she had found it. Ray sat by Oliver's bedside, her fingers tracing the rim of a cold coffee cup. The hospital room was dimly lit, the steady hum of machines filling the silence between them. He was awake, his tired eyes watching her. You've made your choice, haven't you? Ray exhaled slowly. Yeah, I have. Oliver smirked weakly. Took you long enough. She let out a soft laugh, but the weight of her decision still pressed against her chest. Choosing medicine meant walking away from a guaranteed future, from everything she had built. But standing in the pediatric ward the day before, seeing those children fight battles most adults couldn't comprehend, She knew. She had spent years convincing herself that law was the smart choice. But medicine was the one that made her feel alive. I called the law firm today, she admitted. Told them I wasn't taking the internship. Oliver's eyebrows lifted slightly. And they weren't happy. He chuckled. Beth. Ray swallowed. I also spoke to Dr. Whitmore. He said if I'm serious about this, he can help me apply for a post-baccalaureate program. It'll take time and it won't be easy, but it's possible. Oliver reached for her hand, squeezing it weakly. You're gonna be great at it, Ray. Tears burned at the back of her eyes. I hope so. For the first time in weeks, she felt at peace with her decision. A knock on the door interrupted them. Dr. Whitmore stepped inside, his expression unreadable. Ray, can we talk? Her stomach clenched. Is it about Oliver? He nodded. His latest test results are in. She braced herself. But then he smiled. The infection is responding to the new treatment. He's not out of the woods yet, but this is the best progress we've seen. Ray let out a breath she didn't realize she had been holding. She turned to Oliver, who looked just as shocked as she felt. You hear that? She whispered. He grinned. Guess I'm sticking around a little longer. Tears spilled down her cheeks. For the first time in what felt like forever, hope didn't feel like a distant dream. She had made her choice. And for the first time she knew it was the right one.